Blog Talk Radio.
I walked through the damp, foggy streets, my mind swirling. So much content, so many podcasts. How do I find the best? Then it hit me, like a big blue neon sign flashing through the mist. Blueberry. All I had to do was drop the E's and go to blueberry.com. Blueberry, the digital media interface for consumers, creators, and advertisers.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
You are listening to The Liberal Grouch.
People, all going somewhere, all with their own thoughts, their own ideas, all with their own personalities.
Ever since I was a child, all I've ever wanted to be was a journalist, to write stories, to be on the radio, to be an observer of the human condition. Throughout my professional life, in radio, newspapers, and as a writer with the federal government, I've been true to the journalistic ethic of telling the truth, of being accurate, of trying to tell both sides of the story. But I've learned there are people who don't want their story told. In fact, they will do anything to keep you from telling their story. Individually, they are weak, small people who hide in the dark. But when they form a pack, they become dangerous. Not just to the individual trying to tell their story, but to the very concept of a free press. They want their side of the story told, not the full story. And when a strong, honest, progressive voice comes along, one who captures the ears of honest people, it frightens them. It makes them crazy.
Pull the string. Dance to that which one is created for.
They will do whatever they have to do by whatever means necessary to silence that voice, either through legal means or other means. The only thing necessary for evil to succeed is if good people do nothing. I choose to do something. I will stand in the face of this wolf pack of right-wing lunatics until I am either silenced by legal means or until they kill me. They will need to find either some way to throw me in jail for telling the truth, or else there will be blood on the microphone.
Bill Schmalfeld here once again. This is the Liberal Grouch coming to you in your living rooms or cars or whatever device you happen to be using at the moment. No, the toilet doesn't count, although I do wish I had taken a moment to take care of that need before starting the show today. As you can see, the title of today's show is In Which I Kick an Adult Bully Square in the Nuts. I kind of left you hanging yesterday, as I said I was going to sleep on my decision whether or not to give Hoge the courtesy of showing up at the peace order appeal he has coming up on Thursday, day after tomorrow. Not quite sure I've made my decision yet. I am definitely leaning in one direction, but it might not be the direction that my friends would like me to lean. But we'll talk more about that as the show continues. If you're listening, and by golly, I hope you are, you can send me a tweet at the Grouchcast. That's at the Grouchcast. Or if you'd like to be part of the show, give me a call. 607-203-5273. How's that sound, huh? Pretty good? All right, well, we got a lot to get to today, and I've got so many things on my board here that I find myself looking for. Here it is. Let's get up to date with what's going on around the world with the Feature Story News Service.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Catherine True. Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras is facing a backlash at home after offering concessions in debt talks at Monday's emergency summit of Eurozone leaders. Greek officials are warning the proposals will struggle to gain approval from Greece's parliament, deflating hopes that a deal to settle Greece's debt could be settled quickly. FSN's Jack Parrock has more from Brussels.
European leaders were pleased with Greece's new budget proposals, which included higher taxes, welfare and pension changes, and steps to curtail early retirement. The proposals could finally lead to an agreement that would unlock bailout funding for Greece to help the country avoid defaulting on its IMF debts at the end of the month. But Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras, who was elected to stop austerity cuts, must still find a compromise between the creditors and his national parliament. If a deal is not approved by the Greek parliament, Alexis Tsipras could in fact be forced to call snap elections that would prolong uncertainty in the Eurozone.
The death toll from a heat wave in southern Pakistan has reached nearly 700. Pakistan's Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif has called on the National Disaster Management Authority to take immediate emergency measures in a bid to alleviate the suffering. Prolonged power cuts have exacerbated the problem, with many of the victims coming from low-income families. The U.S. Justice Department has announced more than 1,100 Americans have been arrested in 41 states for alleged crimes against children. The violations include sexual exploitation and trafficking, with a specific focus on the Internet. FSN's Washington correspondent Priscilla Huff reports.
Operation Broken Heart is intended to send a message that American law enforcement, and specifically the Internet Crimes Against Children group, is working together better than ever to bring perpetrators of crimes against children to justice. The U.S. Justice Department announced the arrests of 1,140 during the months of April and May. The alleged crimes committed in 41 states included the manufacture and distribution of child pornography, the enticement of children, and the prostitution of children, and even child sex tourism.
Thousands of people have marched to the presidential palace in Yerevan, the capital of Armenia, to protest about rising electricity prices. They were stopped by riot police and violent clashes erupted. Armenia's electricity network is owned by a Russian company. FSN's Anya Ardayeva reports from Moscow.
Hundreds of people have been arrested in Yerevan after protesters marched to the presidential headquarters to protest about growing electricity prices. They were stopped by riot police with water cannons and then tried to block the traffic. The protesters were demanding for the government to reconsider a decision to increase electricity prices by up to 22% since August. Armenia's electricity network is owned by a Russian company, which explained increased electricity prices by a fall in the value of the national currency. Anya Ardayeva, Moscow.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. Kurdish troops say they've captured a key military base in northern Syria from the Islamic State. Kurdish YPG forces are in control of the Brigade 93 base, which is just north of Raqqa, the self-declared capital of IS-held territory. FSN's Ollie Barrett reports from Istanbul.
The military base taken by the YPG gives them a position overlooking roads which provided the Islamic State with links and supply routes from Raqqa to other IS-held territory to the west and east. Kurdish forces are also now in the outskirts of the town Ain Issa, which is only 30 miles from Raqqa. The latest advance by the YPG was backed by US-led airstrikes and follows the capture last week of the crucial Tal Abyad border crossing. That gave the YPG control of a long stretch along the Turkish border with Syria and Iraq and robbed IS of one of its most important border crossings.
The Rwandan government says it is outraged that its head of intelligence has been arrested in London as he is wanted in Spain on war crimes charges. 54-year-old Karenzi Karake was arrested at Heathrow Airport on Saturday, accused of ordering revenge massacres in the wake of the 1994 Rwandan genocide. He and 39 other Rwandan officials were indicted by a Spanish judge in 2008. However, the timing of his detention has been questioned, as he has travelled to the UK several times without being arrested. 2 British teenagers have been arrested by police on suspicion of stealing artefacts belonging to prisoners at the former Auschwitz concentration camp. FSN UK correspondent Dan Whitehead reports.
It's understood the pair, aged 17 and 18, were found at the former prison camp, now museum, with buttons, a comb, spoons and other items which had belonged to prisoners. According to the Guardian newspaper, the boys were questioned on Monday and Tuesday, but were refusing to cooperate with the police investigation. If found guilty, they could face up to 10 years in jail.
And that's the latest Feature Story News. Catherine Drew reporting.
If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the Liberal Grouch, visit the home website for this program, www.liberalgrouch.blogspot.com. Hear recent episodes or search the archives. Share your comments. Give Bill a good talking to, if you should feel so moved. The Liberal Grouchcast homepage, www.liberalgrouch.blogspot.com. And hit the tip jar to help pay for this freaking thing, you freaking deadbeats.
Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for tax cuts, we'd have no fun at all. Blue despair and agony on me.
Obama gives our tax money away to folks who'd rather sit around all day. The harder that I work, the more I pay. And now he's made it legal to be gay.
Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for tax cuts, we'd have no fun at all. Blue despair and agony on me.
For folks who can't afford their own health care,
Obama tells the rich folks they should share.
But part of being rich is you don't care.
To help cure your disease ain't our affair. Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for tax cuts, we'd have no fun at all. Blue despair and agony on me.
Man shall not lie with man, the Bible said. If you do that, then God will strike you dead. I would not stop your right to same-sex wed, as long as you're two pretty gals in bed.
Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for tax, we'd have no fun at all. Blue despair and agony on me.
Obama is the Antichrist, I fear.
For one thing, he's a Muslim and a queer.
This Kenyan phony mocks all we hold dear.
I'd like to shove my pecker up his rear.
What?
Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. If it weren't for tax cuts, we'd have no fun at all. Blue despair and agony on me.
One more time, boys.
Blue despair and agony on me, deep dark depression, excessive misery. have no fun at all. Gloom, despair, and agony on me.
Which one of you boys was talking about shoving a pecker somewhere?
Now here's Conway Twitty.
For God's sake. I mean, seriously. They want God knows how much money for this service, this Blog Talk Radio service. And they can't even keep me on the air, such as it is, for a couple of minutes without bouncing me off. Well, at least the show continues. Welcome back to the Liberal Grouch. You see, I'm back on Firefox now for my browser because I got kicked off of Chrome. And I tried to reconnect, but it kept saying my microphone wasn't giving it any signal. I double-checked my settings. The microphone was giving it plenty of signal, but it still didn't want to acknowledge that there was a connection. Well, we got us a connection now, and we're going to continue with the show. Now, you may recall yesterday... by the way, I'm Bill Schmalfeld. If you're just now joining us, our phone number is 607-203-5273. And you can send me a tweet if you like. Tweets for the sweet. And you can reach me there at the Grouchcast. That's all one word, at the Grouchcast. It couldn't be simpler. So anyway, on the agenda for today, my wife's final resting place arrived. FedEx delivered it shortly before the show started today. And I haven't taken it out of the box yet. I'm kind of delaying on that. I'm also delaying on my ultimate decision as to whether or not I'm going to give Hoge what he wants by showing up at this FCAFCA peace order hearing he's got set up for Thursday. I look at it two ways. If I go... well, he's not going to get the peace order if I go. I'll just say that. There's no way. If I don't go, he'll get his peace order. Now, if I do go, and I'm sure he'll be denied his peace order, I'm intending to leave the state and live in another state as soon as everything's all together here. He has another bite at the apple in August, which I will not be able to fight against from where I'll be living. So these are the questions we contemplate as we deal with the evil that is Hoggy Man.
Sitting on a court bench, I, the teenage girl with bad intent, poop is caked into his beard, stubby fingers scratch his scabby head. Hey, Hoggy Man, dying from his bad heart, skin made gray from hate and lack of sun. Hey, Hoggy Man knows that he's a dead duck, spitting out clots from his rotting lungs. Oh, Hoggy Man. So freaking old, a sick man wastes his last days, spending time the only way he knows. Chest hurting bad as he staggers to the courthouse. He wants to try once more his foe to beat. Leave her alone, that's all her father asked. Forget that we exist and just let us be. Hoggy Man, you fool, don't you know that you're a loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free. Do you still remember the last time you went to court? When you thought that just your lying word would your opponent thwart? And you sit in startled silence when justice reared its head, and the judge said he's not guilty in the least. So freaking old, a sick man wastes his last days, spending time the only way he knows. Chest hurting bad as he staggers to the courthouse. He wants to try once more his foe to beat. Oh, leave her alone, that's all her father asked. Forget that we exist and let us be. Hoggy Man, you fool, don't you know that you're a loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free. Oh, yeah. Hoggy Man, you fool! Don't you know that you're the loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free.
No, it won't. The truth is your worst enemy.
Sitting on a court bench, eyes a teenage girl with bad intent. Poop is caked into his beard. Stubby fingers scratch his scabby head. Hey, Hoggy Man dies from his bad heart. skin made gray from hate and lack of sun. A hoggy man knows that he's a dead duck, spitting out clots from his rotting lungs. Ooh, hoggy man.
Well, seems as if I can break a little news on the show today. And this may influence my decision one way or the other. I haven't seen anything about this on Hoge's blog yet. But, breaking news. Howard County Circuit Court has dismissed my lawsuit against WJJ Hoge for improper venue. So I guess the court has decided that I haven't gotten the opinion yet. I imagine it'll show up. The order was made today, so she's only had it for 3 weeks. So, congratulations to WJJ Hoge. His obfuscation and outright lies have paid off for him. My case, my lawsuit against WJJ Hoge has been dismissed for improper venue. I'm having a good week, can you tell? Oh, yeah. Nothing wrong here. My wife died last Wednesday. Then less than a week later, I find out that the man who's made our lives miserable for the last 2 years, I don't even get to sue him. Dance your little dance, Hoagie. Post your little copla, or whatever the fuck that is. I just don't know if it's even worth the effort. Honest to God, I don't. I ought to just get my shit together here and carry out my plans just to get the hell out of Dodge and move to Iowa. Because after all, you know, I am the evil cabin boy.
I tell you what, Nancy, I only trust that cabin boy as far as I could throw him.
Well, that wouldn't be very far. He is so very fat.
Giggle, giggle, giggle. You are absolutely correct.
I do not believe there is a fatter person in the whole wide world.
It's probably all those foot-long hot dogs he eats.
Oh, he loves those footlongs.
And don't forget the mayonnaise.
What's the deal with the mayonnaise?
Sure, remember? The mayonnaise is a visual representation of the bodily fluids excreted by the foot-long hot dogs, which aren't really hot dogs at all, but are metaphorical representations of the phallic objects that remind the cabin boy of his dead twin brother. This is why every time we insult the cabin boy, there must be some reference to footlong and mayonnaise.
In the cabin boy's case, I would be more likely to compare him to a Vienna sausage. Now that is world-class humor. You know he is faking his Parkinson's disease.
Of course he is.
I know someone with Parkinson's and looks nothing like the cabin boy.
How could he not be faking it?
He has to be.
Have you ever seen how quickly he types?
No.
Me neither. But there is no way a person with Parkinson's can type that fast. One of the other people in the comment section said that the cabin boy wrote 11 billion Twitter posts in one day.
Wow. No way a person with Parkinson's could do that many. Amazing.
Astounding is what I would call it.
That's a good word.
All I can say is, it is the good folks like you and me that keep the cabin boy from unleashing his unspeakable evil onto the world.
Can you imagine what would happen if he were to unleash his evil?
Notice how he always talks about poop?
It's all he ever talks about.
I used to wonder why so many people who write about the cabin boy say he likes poop.
I used to wonder about that, too.
Well, wonder no more. For he once wrote a column for the Daily Cuss in which there was a passing reference to anal sex.
Passing? Like in passing gas?
Yes. It was a 2,000-word article, but 175 words dealt with consensual anal sex between a man and a woman.
Sweet Heavenly Mother of God, is that all the man can think about?
I believe that to be the case. Sometimes you have to really read between the lines, but it's always there.
Even if you have to make it up.
Ha 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 ha.
Ha ha ha.
Ever wonder what we'd do for fun if we didn't have to keep a constant eye on the cabin boy?
No, I cannot imagine that. Like guardians to the corridors of hell, it is our job to ensure the cabin boy never knows a moment's peace.
That is true. And when he dies, I plan to find out where he's buried, set up a lawn chair, and stare at the grave just to make sure he stays in there where he belongs.
His Parkinson's will kill him shortly.
Oh yes, he will be dead soon.
I can hardly wait.
He has Parkinson's dementia, you know.
How do we justify saying he is faking his Parkinson's and then claim he has Parkinson's dementia?
That's none of our concern. The official doctrine is the cabin boy is faking his Parkinson's disease, and that's because of the Parkinson's disease dementia he has.
Hey, I'll believe it if I'm told to.
Yes, some questions are better left unasked.
Some words are best left unspoken.
You are correct.
You are correct.
No,
no,
you are.
You are.
No,
no,
you are.
You are.
No,
no,
you are.
You are.
So, in effect, what we've learned today is that WJJ Hoge has no problem with improper venue as long as it benefits him. If it doesn't benefit him, and if Carroll County is not going to charge him for blatant forgery, blatant lying under oath, and other crimes, what chance does a fellow like me got? Huh? Why should I bother going to this hearing on Thursday when I get nothing out of it? What do I get out of it? Not a thing. If Hoge gets a peace order against me, oh well, that's fine. Or is it? Is that something I want to let him have? Is that something I want to just give him? Do I just want to roll over on my belly and let him sodomize me? Oh well. Things to think about. After all, the ram has touched the wall. That was the old-time Roman battle call. And what that meant was that you must surrender your weapon tender, and Caesar would let you live. But all that matters, the ram that batters, once it touches your walls, he won't forgive. The ram has touched the wall. And in the old days that meant towns would fall.
But nowadays some guy who thinks he's Caesar, this wheezing geezer who thinks he's smarter than all, up to his neck in shit, he don't know when to quit. The ram has touched the wall. The ram has touched the wall. The ram has touched the wall, and that must surely mean the end of all of our concerted efforts to negate all the filth and hate and to give up without a fight. Yet every pervert will feel the butt hurt when they see I've got them dead to rights. The ram has touched the wall, but this specific ram, he's got no balls. And all that he can do is sit and mumble and break and crumble, 'cause he's behind the 8 ball. He may not know it yet, but he will soon regret. The ram has touched the wall. The ram has touched the wall, but it is not the wall he thought would fall. This chowderhead who causes agitation through defamation, I'll see him soon here in court. This naughty whiner, a palatiner, better hope that I'm the forgiving sort. The ram has touched the wall. It turned out not to be a ram at all. Who would have guessed that stupid right-wing creep would show up with sheep? In fact, the ram was a lamb, and you should hear them cry. Now that we've caught the lie, oh, the wall has touched the lamb, poor little sheepy. The wall, the wall, the wall, the wall, the wall has crushed the lamb. Well, at least I've still got one guy in my sights. The federal court that is considering my lawsuit against Grady, Patrick G. Grady of Palatine, Illinois, he hasn't issued his ruling yet. The way my week is going, I mean, not that any of this compares to the loss of my soulmate, you know? I don't want you to think that this is even in the same ballpark. It seems when you're dealing with scoundrels, unless you're willing to be a scoundrel yourself, the scoundrels find a way to win. And I'm just not willing to be a scoundrel. If I can get you legally, then I got you. All right, where's this song?
Yeah. You thought he wouldn't do it now, didn't you? You thought that he'd deny it now, didn't you? Now give me what you gotta give. Give it here. Come on. Hey! Good God. Hey! Hey! You taunted me each day on your stupid website. Said I'd be the loser if we should fight. Your libel me, slandered me, dared me to, yeah. You told me the winner would always be you. Now bend down, down to the ground now, hold it. Don't try to struggle now, hold it. It'll be over soon now, hold it. Come on, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Now squeeze down on it now, hey! Good God, hey! The judge approved it, ha ha, good God. You said there's no way that a judge would approve it. You said that he'd Google me and then he'd say screw it. He saw my complaint and he issued a ruling. I can sue you for free, and I ain't fooling. Now give it here. You
You never should have libeled on me. Give it here. Wipe your eyes now. Give it here. Quit your whining now. Give it here. Come on. Give it here. Give it here. Give it here. Give it here. Give it to me. Good God. Hey, I gotcha. Marshal gonna serve it to you. Gotcha. And you gotta take it too. Gotcha. Give it on here. I gotcha. You thought you'd get away with it, didn't you? I gotcha. Give it on up. I gotcha. Give it on here. I gotcha. You thought you could get away, didn't you? Ha! Gotcha. Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, we'll see you in court, you stupid son of a bitch.
And by a stupid son of a... I'm talking about Paul Krenzer, or as he's known in the real world, Patrick G. Grady. Yesterday, he wrote this on his blog. You see, he's back from tending to his mortally wounded pretend daughter. His mortally wounded pretend daughter was involved in a serious car accident last couple of weeks or so ago, and I don't know, I think she might have had part of her head taken off. I'm really not sure. Of course, Grady doesn't actually have a daughter, so this is all just another scam, but he wrote this yesterday. The head zombie is back in charge. And you can read that for yourself. No, I'll share it with you. He says, I guess it just isn't enough that I stop beating my enemy to death with its own words. I have to kiss the gigantic mangina's boo-boo that it left me choice but to give it, pat on its spongy little noggin with the brains swinging all lonely inside like a 40-watt bulb trying to light an 80,000 square foot warehouse and tell it, you put up a good fight, dumb fuck. Especially the way you were able to cripple my one hand with multiple crushing blows from various parts of your face. That is what it said it would do to somebody in court, right? No, I never said that. I may have said something like that. I didn't say that. Anyway, I had thought it would be a nice gesture to leave him for a couple of weeks following the as yet unconfirmed death of his wife. I guess he wants me to pour the ashes down his throat or something. Let him do his imaginary grieving in peace. Rapidly, it became clear the morning his ball and chain was the furthest thing from his mind. He had other priorities. Smaller coffee pot, getting rid of her clothes and possessions, contacting the Oregon gift registry, though the way I hear it, she had been giving gifts to people's organs for many years now. New smartphone, rebranding itself from the internet's most famous fat, stupid, untalented, demented, cyber-stalking, turd-rolling, Oedipal podcasting, grievingest griever that ever did grieve a grief to, troll, widower, 11. Just proving once and for all that I loved his wife more than I hate John Hoge. This is what passes for decency. This is what passes for discourse among these people. So I was feeling somewhat waggish last night, and I posted this on my website, thepatriotombudsman.com. Stolen from Patrick G. Grady with some minor modifications to make it a funny parody. I guess it just isn't enough that I stop throwing foul, greasy shit at my enemy. I have to kiss my own pencil-necked epic fail ass to salve the butt hurt caused when the drop-off in readership left me no choice but to abandon my pretend daughter in the pretend hospital, pat her on her be-shitted little bottom, and come to the realization that my real son with spina bifida has twice the spine that I do. Although I can control my own defecation, since my brain is not but a colonic polyp among a cluster of polyps, looking like a mushroom farm inside a wet, slimy tube. And tell myself, you laid there like a $5 whore, shithead, especially with the way my enemy was able to be-shit his dick with multiple splotches of bloody feces from where he tried to fuck me in the brain. That is what it said it would do to somebody in court, right? Did I take my medicine yet? Anyway, I thought it would be a nice gesture if I would just let him be for a couple of weeks following the as of yet unconfirmed demolition of my pretend daughter. By the way, driving on a mix of vodka, Haldol, Xanax, and methamphetamines, just don't do it. Let me do my imaginary grieving in peace. Rapidly, it became clear that mourning my little imaginary dent-headed daughter was the furthest thing from the thing that I refer to as my mind. I had other priorities. Pretend to cry as my pretend daughter struggles to say, Daddy, contacting the organ gift registry. Though the way I hear it, she's going to live on as an imaginary burden on my imaginary life, like the real-life son I referred to as an anchor. Take away imaginary daughter's smartphone, as she can neither speak nor will she ever be anything someone would call smart. Rebrand myself from the internet's most odious, obsessed, jealous, untalented pretend zombie troll to the internet's most odious, obsessed, jealous, untalented pretend zombie with a permanently brain-damaged daughter, grievingest griefy griever that ever did grieve a grief, troll daughter daddy head dent 11. Realize that cremains is a real word for the ashes from a cremation, and realizing that my brain-damaged pretend daughter knew that before I did. How much cerebral spinal fluid did she leak onto the pillow today? And of course, it's not pretend zombie life without another pretend zombie hate post. Just thought of something. Know how dents in car bodies suddenly pop out sometimes? I think I'll put a quarter in my pretend daughter's head dent. And if it pops out, heads, I shoot myself. Tails, I murder my entire family, then myself. It's a win-win. So, when it became clear earlier today that my grieving was probably manufactured, like the evidence I created for Hoggy's contempt of court hearing, or just a very convenient RNTFMHFW contrivance, I decided that my little vacation from public blogging should come to a close. This monkey is obviously rested and itching to dance, and with fleas. And the show must go on, though I neither have a show, the talent, nor the skill to have my own blog talk radio show. Note to self, take a freaking hint, would you? But I can dance if I want to. Oh, by the way, RNTFMHFW is reason not to fuck my horrible fat wife. Well, I seem to have struck something of a nerve with Mr. Grady this morning. In his daily Good Morning Dumb Fuck column, he writes, "It's true." Well, he actually steals this tweet from me. It's true. Dead people can't claim liable. And anonymous people can't claim to have been threatened with painful fractures and dislocations. He writes, threatened by whom? A poor, pitiful, late-stage 11-4 Parkinson's patient who can't walk assisted or go outside when the temperature dips into the brisk 40s, who couldn't possibly hurt anyone as weak as it is, unless it's using its magic hand to cripple people it can't catch as it shuffles along into courtrooms in its rolly walker and its blistering pace of 10 feet per minute, who could catch a turtle that wasn't changed down. What's a dumb fuck gonna do? Send his sister after me? Ain't it rough? Ain't it tough? Ain't it got the baddest stuff? Before it calls her out, it should be sure to remind her that my personal 2-tiered home security system, which is controlled from a locked box in the bedroom and another in the hall closet, is entirely gender neutral, and girl brains are so tasty. And then he steals another tweet of mine. You know what I mean by favor? They can come over with lawnmowers, hedge clippers, shovels, or pay someone to do some landscaping. Well, I guess we know now why you were the only one left standing in a bar fight. Did your palsy-walsies jump right in and take care of your business while you and your urine-soaked panties hid behind the jukebox? Last man standing until after closing time when you had to repay those favors out of the parking lot. Grady, Krendler, whatever your fucking name is, I could kick your ass, judging by your picture, on my worst day. And you know it. You fucking know it. Not that I would. I don't believe violence is the answer, always. I think it has its place sometimes, but it's not always the answer. There are other ways. But first we got to figure out who you are.
Krendler or Grady, you can't make up your mind which one you are. I'd like to wake up and find Krendler or Grady, fear defines what you are. I own you, I own you, I own you, I own you. Krendler or Grady, you're not very smart. You craven coward, you've made it in art. Krendler or Grady, fool, whichever you are. I own you, I own you, I own you. You write like a moron, and I'm being kind. There's no use in fighting. What's yours will be mine. Krendler or Grady, I'll see you in court. Won't strip you naked, I'll leave you some shorts. Krendler or Grady, do you know who you are? I own you, I own you, I own you, I own you.
lady. Yes, soon you will be mine. Thought you were clever, you're out of your mind. Krendler or Grady, fear defines who you are. I own you, I own you, I own you.
If you enjoy this sort of old-timey, argle-bargle and foo-fa-ah, then somehow we just know you will enjoy our channel of old-time radio chills and thrills on Live 365 Internet Radio. 35 hours of Inner Sanctum mystery.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup present Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Come on in, friend. Into the Inner Sanctum. This is really a lovely place. Oh, kind of dark and cobwebby. But then the maid hasn't been around for some time. No, she was playing the numbers. Then her number came up. Why, through these portals pass some of the nicest people in the world. True, they're rather boring, but after all, they are deadheads. And I'll take a good old redhead deadhead any time.
Now I have to go change my scanties. Make sure you have a ready supply of fresh, clean undergarments when you listen to Inner Sanctum Radio on Live 365.
And now, friends, for those of you who like morals with your drama, here's one for tonight. Never mix your partner's business with your pleasure. For if you do, he may consider it a pleasure to give you the business.
You can find the link on our homepage, www.audioauditorsarchives.com. That's all one word. Check the sidebar at www.audioauditorsarchives.com for the link to Inner Sanctum Radio on Live 365. We dare you.
It's enough to make your camera shutter. Good night. Pleasant dreams.
Throughout America today, there are men who, sad to say, are not really men. Through no fault of their own, they were born without a vital body part that helps a boy become a man. Oh, sure, we're not saying that it takes a certain chemical in the bloodstream to make a person a mature adult male. There are people, brave people, who are as manly as can be, even though they don't have a drop of testosterone in their blood. But far too often, especially among men in the Republican Party or those who cling to right-wing views, we find people who are technically adults but are still quivering, cowardly little boys who cling to their mommy's apron strings. People who send taunting, angry tweets to people and then demand that your account be suspended if you respond. People like an adult male in his 60s living in Westminster, Maryland, who uses the courts the way a boxer would use his fists. There's no lie he won't tell, no self-degradation he will not endure to punish the people he feels have wronged him, although we feel he is compensating for the horrible abuse he must have endured as a pimply-faced Poindexter who thought he knew more than everyone else in his school or university. People like an adult male in his 40s, residing in suburban Chicago, who is so afraid of a man with Parkinson's disease, this able-bodied adult male felt it necessary to resort to a weapon that victims, usually female victims, use to protect themselves against their abusers. This adult male from Palatine, Illinois, has spent God knows how much of other people's money to protect himself from a man who can barely raise his hands above shoulder level. And then there's people like an adult male in his 30s living in Racine, Wisconsin, who throws dog poo at bigger, stronger people from under the front porch of his ramshackle house, then hides under the porch or up inside his mommy's skirt. Sure, we're all disgusted by people like that. It's a natural reaction. These people who choose the road of cowardice, who insult others at will, but then cry when they are insulted in return. But there's something we fellas can do to help these poor, spineless wastes of human life. Unlike women who are born with a set number of eggs in their ovaries, and once those eggs are gone, they go into menopause, a man's testicles continue to produce sperm and other male hormones well into their 90s. So the next time you renew your driver's license, ask for the proper form so you can donate your testicles to adult males like these. For each set of testicles you donate after your death, the Nuts for Nitwits Society will donate a cadaver scrotum, so the recipient of your gift will have some place to keep it. We can't promise that every recipient of a testicle transplant will grow up, stand on his hind legs, and start acting like a man, but there's hope. Fill out your form today and donate your testicles to the Nuts for Nitwits Society. Somewhere, an adult male is filling out a petition for an order of protection against a man who couldn't harm him even if he wanted to. Please, help him. And thank you.
Listening to The Liberal Grouch.
Me there. DK. Me there.
Yes, because we're not responsible for any major or minor mental freakouts caused by listening to this show.
This is the WJJ Hoge story. Who is WJJ Hoge III? What is WJJ Hoge III? Why is WJJ Hoge III? Here for Liberal Grouch Productions, with answers to these questions, is our own Hector de Peoples.
We at the Liberal Grouch have done our best to research the history of WJJ Hoge III of Westminster, Maryland. We find that there are more twists and turns and holes in the story in the lineage of WJJ Hoge III than one will find in the diseased intestines of a person with Crohn's disease. These records are based on historical documents which have since been sealed and destroyed by the state of Tennessee, but not before we got photocopies. In order for there to be a WJJ Hoge III, there must have been a WJJ Hoge I. And there was. Born in 1887 on a farm outside of Franklin, Tennessee, nobody is quite sure who WJJ Hoge I's parents actually were. The young infant was found in a barnyard between the rear hooves of a large horse, covered in horse manure and trying desperately to nurse from the horse. Unfortunately, the horse was not a mare, but was a steed stallion, a fact that, if mentioned in the presence of WJJ Hoge I, would cause him to erupt in extreme rage, with obscenities and bullets flying. The newspapers of the time had quite some fun with the discovery of the manure-covered child, calling him the miracle horse baby of Franklin, as Hoge had no one to raise him because no one, seeing photographs of his birth conditions, wanted to touch him physically. He was sent to the Tennessee Home for Wayward, Unloved Children in nearby Cooksville, Tennessee. That school was burned to the ground in 1893 under suspicious circumstances, in which the evidence points to young Mr. Hoge. Several students and teachers were killed in their sleep by the smoke and flames of the fire. In fact, there was only one child left uninjured by the conflagration, and that was young Mr. Hoge. A local newspaper reporter at the time encountered Mr. Hoge and asked him how he managed to survive the conflagration that took so many lives on that dark, dreadful day in Cooksville. Mr. Hoge replied, "None of your beeswax," and kicked the reporter squarely in the testicles. Moving forward to 1915, 15 years into a new century, WJJ Hoge I kidnapped a young debutante from a Nashville cotillion and declared her his wife, where they lived together in a filthy log cabin several miles south of Smyrna, Tennessee. On September 18th, 1917, after finally achieving the ability to impregnate his captured wife, WJJ Hoge finally produced his first and only offspring, which he named WJJ Hoge II. He promptly shot his wife, as she was no further use to him. This, of course, at the time, was considered a capital crime in the state of Tennessee. And Hoge I went to the gallows on April 3rd, 1920. Through much research, we were able to discover that a Edison recording of Hoge I's final words as he stood on the scaffold just before they put the hood over his head still exists. And thus, a worthless life came to an end. That was it for WJJ Hoge III. But what about WJJ Hoge II? Being not quite 3 years old, the opportunities for a fatherless waif like WJJ Hoge II were limited. He was sent to the Nashville Home for Children with limited opportunity, no hope, and no outlook for success, where he proved the title of the school absolutely correct. Released from the school when he was 18 years old, young Hoge II became a traveling snake oil salesman. Unlike the other snake oil salesmen of the early 20th century, he actually used real snakes, which he would crush and pour their entrails into a bottle and refer to them as snake oil. More than one person died as a result of ingesting WJJ Hoge II's product, and he spent a large portion of his miserable life behind bars at the Tennessee State Penitentiary, where he did a hard time on the rock pile. And by that, we don't mean breaking up the rocks with hammers. We mean that he was sexually abused in the late night hours while the guards were busy doing other things on top of the rock pile by other inmates. It was a terrible fate, and it shaped Hoge II's mentality. On December 8th, 1941, the day after the infamous attack on Pearl Harbor by forces of the Japanese Imperial Navy, there was a general amnesty in Tennessee prisons for eligible young men, provided that upon release from prison, they immediately enlist in the armed forces of the United States to fight the Axis enemy. Hoge II signed such a pledge, but immediately went into hiding, having inherited his father's gift for deception and connivery, as well as smooth talking. Young Mr. Hoge, 24 years old at the outbreak of the war, founded a radio station in Clarksville, Tennessee, where he was not only the owner, but the morning radio show host. At first, we thought that perhaps he got his license to broadcast through fraudulent means. After all, he was an escaped felon. But records show that the Federal Communications Commission issued a broadcast license to young Hoge II in 1944. His station, with call letters that, when spelled out and read aloud, in our research for this program, we had difficulty getting anyone in a position of authority in Clarksville, Tennessee, to admit that there ever was such a radio station. However, after the proper palms were greased, we did manage to find one records custodian who had secreted away a wire recording made of one such transmission in 1948.
Good morning, tools and fools. This is William John Joseph
Hoge II, and you're listening to Hoge in the Morning, here on KUNT in Clarksville, Tennessee. Yes, and I'm a happy man today. Our little boy, Hoge III, slept through the night for the first time. We couldn't be more happy. Ha-ha! And now the music of Glenn Miller.
As congenial and friendly as Hoge II sounded on the air, he was just the opposite in personality and temperance at home. Being an early riser, he needed to go to bed early in the evening, and he insisted that his entire family, his wife Prudence, and his son, WJJ Hoge III, retire for the evening with him. He was a brutal father, whipping his son with his belt on a nearly daily basis, calling him a poor excuse for a third in such a proud line of Hoggies. It seemed young Mr. Hoge III had no interest in much of anything except in being a broadcaster. The elder Hoge tried to explain to his son that owning a radio station was merely a scam and that he was cheating the advertisers for every dollar he could get from them. But still, young Mr. Hoge III wanted to be in radio. On a tragic day, September 24th, 1957, young Mr. Hoge III was a 10-year-old when someone listening to the radio station finally sounded out the call letters of KUNT, and there was a meeting in Washington, D.C. at the Federal Communications Commission to deny Mr. Hoge II a renewal of his broadcast license. We'll merely say the meeting did not go well.
Mr. Hoge, you are the owner and operator of a radio station in Clarksville, Tennessee, are you not?
That is absolutely true, Congressman.
And the call letters of this radio station are KUNT. Am I not correct?
Oh, my goodness, Mr. Congressman, you can spell. That's much better than most of the Democrats in the House of Representatives.
This is not the time to be flip and arrogant, Mr. Hoge. You are in serious trouble.
Well, then you be sure to tell me when it is time to be flip and arrogant, and I'll do my best to oblige you.
Mr. Hoge, when you founded and applied for the call letters KUNT, you knew that saying the call letters as if they were a word would result in speaking of a profanity, a guttural reference to a woman's holiest of holies. Were you aware of that at the time?
Of course I was, you dunderhead. Good God Almighty, what kind of dunce do you take me for?
So you called your radio station KUNT for the purpose of
offending the very same people who continued to vote for Democrats into high office. The people who put Roosevelt in for 4 terms. The people who re-elected the natural law of God Almighty in heaven.
I believe we've heard enough from this witness. I believe we should move to a vote to deny.
You will deny me nothing.
Oh my God, he's got a gun.
Members of Congress, 14 members of the spectator audience were slain before a sleepy Capitol Police force could arrive at the caucus chamber to take Mr. Hoge II down once and for all, leaving behind a destitute wife and a child, WJJ Hoge III, who was now entering middle school at the age of 12. We all know that middle school can be the roughest period in any child's life. Imagine what it would be like to be the child of a mass murderer who committed his mass murder on nationwide TV on all three of the networks that were covering the KUNT hearing. Poor young Hoge III was subjected to all manner of torment and abuse from his fellow students, and even the nuns at the Little Sisters of the Poor school which he attended were unable to protect him from much that transpired. Things improved, but only slightly, when Mr. Hoge III matriculated to high school, but only marginally. He tried out to be the water boy for the football team, but he kept tripping over the sideline markers when he was called to take his bucket of water out to the players. We at the Liberal Grouch were able to locate some of Mr. Hoge III's high school contemporaries, such as Clement J. Stein, now living in New York City.
Yeah, I remember Hoge. He was kind of a standoffish one. Thought very highly of himself, but nobody else seemed to share that opinion. I'll never forget one day when he refused to take a shower in sophomore physical education. He said he didn't want the other boys to see his dirty thing. I guess that's what his mother called it. Being boys, we were capable of the most insane and unwarranted sorts of cruelty, so I recall one day after a particularly strenuous physical education activity where we, in the locker room, stripped little Hoge naked and threw him into the shower, where we got him wet and soapy and scrubbed him down with a wire brush. I believe the manufacturer of the brush is a company called Kai. Yes, I believe that's what it was, because we couldn't help but recall the similarity between the name of the product and the sound Hoge made as we scrubbed a layer of skin off of him. Oh, he didn't even try to fight back. He just laid there and bled like the little pussy we knew he was.
Things did not go much better for Hoge when he graduated high school and was accepted at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, where he immediately lived out his dreams of broadcast excellence by becoming a low-level manager of some sort at the student radio station. Never secure enough in the sound of his own voice to actually do an air shift, his duties were confined to being sales manager for the radio station, which was merely an honorary position since the college radio station had a non-commercial license, therefore could not sell advertising time. His dreams of being on radio crushed. Hoge III found love. Young Constance McGillicuddy from Nashville had a successful career going in broadcast and audio recording. Hoge swept her under his wing and off her feet and married her, stealing her away to Maryland, where they reside today in Westminster, the county seat of Carroll County, one of the few almost totally Republican counties in one of the bluest states on the political map. Mrs. Hoge was able to bear but one child, and that would be William John Joseph Hoge IV, an extremely large child, setting Winchester record that being born at 27 pounds, Mrs. Hoge was never again able to even entertain the idea of sexual relations with Mr. Hoge III ever again. He did not take that well, beating her once so severely that he broke her back and gave her bone cancer. We contacted Mr. Hoge III at his home in Westminster, and he agreed to a brief interview.
What you don't seem to understand, you New York liberals, is that the woman is my property to use and abuse as I choose. Are you pondering what I'm pondering? That was a little play on words, but ever so true. Yes, I beat the cancer into her back, and now I'm beating it out of her. She's a strong, stalwart woman, that one, and she would have to be to have given birth to this gigantic mound of moron that is my son, William John Joseph Hoge IV.
That would be me.
Yes, son. Now, please, Daddy's talking to the liberal reporter from New York.
I thought you did not like liberal reporters from New York.
Son, that's not the time to discuss private family business.
I recall you saying that the next time a liberal reporter from New York came into our house that you would personally shoot him in the face with your shotgun.
To your room, young man, at once.
Daddy, I'm in my 30s now and do not have to do what you tell me.
You bloody damn well do have to do as I tell you while you live under my roof.
Okay, Daddy.
There, you see? The product of superior genetic engineering. He does whatever I tell him, which is all I ask of anyone, to do that which I bid and command.
WJJ Hoge III, megalomaniac, liar, possible forgerer, a despicable human being in every sense of the word. But now, perhaps, you have a slightly better understanding of why it is he is the way he did. For the Liberal Grouchcast, this has been Hector DePeople. Thank you for listening.
Have you seen the little hoggies crawling in the slime? Sad for all the little hoggies running out of time. Paying for your crime can lead to butt hurt. Have you seen the daddy hoggy in his nice bow ties? You will find that daddy hoggy's running out of lies, nearing his demise in profound butt hurt.
In their styes with all their shucking, they don't care what goes on around. With their lies, you see them sucking what they got so damn good fucking.
Everywhere there's lots of hoggies with their hoggy lies. Even Hoggy's giant boy child with his chafing eyes, hoping daddy dies while he has money. One more time.
If you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the Liberal Grouch, visit the home website for this program, www.liberalgrouch.blogspot.com. Hear recent episodes or search the archives. Share your comments. Give Bill a good talking to, if you should feel so moved. The Liberal Grouchcast homepage, www.liberalgrouch.blogspot.com. And hit the tip jar to help pay for this freaking thing, you freaking deadbeats.
Well, I had hoped to have an answer for you today as to what I was going to do as far as Hoge's appeal of his rejected peace order. But given the developments of the day, I think I'm going to take another night to think about it. And right now I've got a doggy, little brown doggy, who's practically beating me up because she needs to use the yard. Oh, good, she's cut me. Let me out or I'll cut you, old man. Oh, and there's no one here to protect me. Oh, well, if you ever were going to carry out those death threats, now would be the time. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I promise I will have an answer, one way or the other, as to what I intend to do about Hoggy. And, what? What's your problem? I'm not wrapping up the show fast enough for Shiloh. What's your problem? You want me to stop now? I'm being stared at. Want me to stop now? Okay.
Think you belong. You have been listening to the Liberal Grouchcast with Bill Schmalfeld. This show is broadcast live on Blog Talk Radio, weekdays starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, and goes on for as long as he freaking feels like it. Then, it's available, on demand, on Blog Talk Radio, Spreaker, YouTube, SoundCloud,
you made me bleed.
And on the home website, www.theliberalgrouch.net. Write to Bill on Twitter, at The Grouchcast. Again, that's at The Grouchcast. Be our Facebook friend at www.facebook.com/TheLiberalGrouchcast. And when you visit the home website at www.theliberalgrouch.net, don't forget to hit the damn tip jar. These shows don't pay for themselves. Damn it. The Liberal Grouchcast is a copyrighted production of Bill Schmalfelt. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved.
This podcast is a member of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry. No East. That's Blueberry, BLUBRRY.com. Blueberry.com.
Oh, the suffering.